Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 31st, the final day of the month. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Official data on the prevalence of hypertension in Barbados could be revealed close to the end of this year, but early anecdotal data from testing done during this May measurement month is indicating that close to 5 in every 10 persons tested registered numbers in line with having high blood pressure or being hypertensive. Now, Dr. Kenneth Connell, the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences of the UWI Cafil campus and consultant internist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, has been on the front line testing Barbadians over the last few weeks and is shedding some light on what he's been seeing. He admits to seeing some very worrying trends.
Any shockers that have come out this month? Well, it is always alarming to me, although it's not much of a shocker, to be fair, to see some very high numbers in people who really did not know they had hypertension. So they just volunteered and said, I'll have my blood pressure checked. I haven't done it for a good 5-year period. I'll just have it checked. And then it shocks them to see that the reading is so high. So that's one category. And I find that, interestingly, a lot of these clusters, and clusters is a very special word now in a pandemic, but a lot of these high blood pressure clusters have occurred within certain businesses. Interestingly enough, or certain sites. Then the second category of people, these are people who are diagnosed with high blood pressure, who are taking medication, some of them admit forgetting a few times, and are also shocked at how high their blood pressure is, which suggests they're taking the tablets, but they're not really monitoring their blood pressure at home. So that's an important gap as well. So two main gaps then. One, those people who are newly diagnosed, and an interesting gap for me as a practitioner, those people who are already on medication, still not on target.
Are you concerned about in terms of if you test 10 people, in terms of the number in that 10, whether it be 5 or above, that are testing with their blood pressure so high, or the numbers are a bit concerning?
Yeah.
Is that the pattern you're seeing?
Yeah, so it obviously depends on the environment. So a younger population, like at a university, you're going to have fewer people that are going to have high numbers, unless a lot more staff are involved. So I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. It probably is between 4 to 5 people out of 10 people with high numbers, which, you know, it's unscientific to extrapolate at a population basis, but certainly that is
consistent with what the statistics that we know to be
It is consistent, yes, very much so. And remember that this is a mixture of people who didn't know they have it, didn't know they had hypertension. So this is the first time diagnosis, but there are also people in there who knew they had it and still not on control. And as I always say to colleagues, the fact that someone is on medication really only becomes significant once you get them controlled. So we have a challenge of not just starting medication, but getting patients to control as quickly as possible.
Right. How long before we get some hard data in terms of where we are at currently, in terms of the number of people who have or who are living with hypertension or high blood pressure?
Right. So the media always wants data, and we want data as well. So the project wraps up in August. There's usually data cleaning, as you can appreciate. 85 countries sending in data. We're all using our mobile devices, so lots of data is coming in various fashions. Some people are sending it through in Excel sheets and stuff. So it usually takes a good 2 to 3 months to clean that data, to review it, to get the manuscript ready. And there's then a publication somewhere about 3 months after May measurement month has ended, which is obviously now going to be pushing us down later into the year. So there's a publication. Usually I don't want to put a bias on which journal it will come out in, but certainly I will be back here on Morning Report to report on the peer-reviewed publication, not the leaked version, but the peer-reviewed publication. And also I should say that the Caribbean community, so Barbados, Jamaica, and some of the other islands, we are kind of pooling together our data to also analyze it for the region as well. So we will have regional data from that.
Now, there is a response to get more people tested, and really to curb these high numbers that we're seeing and to get treatment for those who need it. The response is in the form of an initiative called the Barbados Barbershop Blood Pressure Project, or BIMCUT BP. It's a collaborative effort to get more people tested while directing those individuals with worrying numbers to get the necessary treatment in the health care system.
Men don't usually have health-seeking behavior. You might go for a vaccine or for an insurance medical, but you don't do this routinely. But where do men go routinely? Some more than others, right? A barbershop, right? So in your barbershop, you're sitting in a chair, you're relaxed, it's the perfect environment. Both feet are touching the ground, you know, you're a bit more relaxed there because you're familiar with your barber. And he puts a blood pressure cuff on. He's trained to do this because there's some training involved. And then he takes your blood pressure. So the Barbados Barbershop Blood Pressure Project, or BIM CUT BP for short, is going to be launched in August in Barbados, involving several barbershops around the island. It is hoped that these barbershops will be kind of paired with polyclinics around the island as well, so that we can almost fast track those people who have elevated blood pressures to go into the system. Now, again, it makes no sense going to your barber, having your blood pressure done, and then we do nothing about it, because we actually have data out of the United States in Los Angeles and New Orleans, where two arms in the project, the same barbershop project. One arm had a structured intervention. They used a pharmacist. In our setting, we probably will use a nurse who tracked these patients, who got them, more importantly, onto lifestyle and medication changes. And the other group, we just kind of told, you know, reduce your salt, get some more exercise, the usual thing a barber might be expected to tell you almost in a script. Now, at the end of 6 months, the difference in the systolic, or the top number of the blood pressure, was about 27.6 in those people who actually were fast-tracked in the health system, and it only fell by about 9 in those people who were not. So there's a clear difference. And so the Barbershop Project is an opportunity for men to be screened, but also to be fast-tracked into treatment.
And the barbers involved will be trained to carry out these blood pressure checks, and we'll be checking in with Dr. Connell as more data becomes available. We'll take a break here. We got some COVID-19 updates coming your way, and we'll tell you the latest on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The number of new cases of COVID-19 here in Barbados appear to be on the decline. There were 117 new cases, 48 males and 69 males, recorded on Sunday from 479 tests carried out by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. Of those positive cases, 20 individuals were under the age of 18, while 97 were 18 years and older. The number of people in isolation facilities was at 53, while 1,978 people were in home isolation. First time in a while that the numbers have dropped below 2,000. 3 deaths were recorded yesterday, however. These comprise 2 vaccinated men, ages 80 and 92, and an unvaccinated 88-year-old woman. As of May 29th, there were 449 deaths. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, along with other stakeholders, are showing support to the South Clarendon community of Rocky Point after a recent spike in crime and violence. Efforts are now being intensified to redirect the minds of the youth there to more positive activities. More in this TVJ report.
The young and the young at heart enjoying free rides and food at a social event in Rocky Point in southern Clarendon. The police, who helped to plan the event, said Rocky Point needed a day like this following a series of deadly attacks in the last few weeks.
The business place and the home of a popular person in the community was burnt. We've also had a shooting where 4 persons were shot on the beach, 2 died. So an event like this, we are certainly giving it some support, because we know what an event like this can do to the citizens of the community.
The head of the Community Safety Branch in Clarendon, DSP Owen Brown, added that he's still concerned about the number of students not attending school despite the resumption of face-to-face classes several months ago. Those idle children become prime targets for recruiting gangs.
We know that there are a number of children in the space that are not going to school, that are involved in other kinds of activities. So we're hoping that this will help to encourage them. We want our children to understand that education is still key, school still a keep, and education is the way to success.
The Minister of Agriculture and MP for the area, Pernell Charles Jr., explained that several programs are ongoing to help redirect at-risk youth from a life of crime.
We did some training of fishers during the last year. I also had training classes there for persons to learn about how to do solar panel installation, and we even put some solar panels on the community center itself.
And what better way to help redirect youth from a life of crime than recruiting them for the police force? JCF recruiters who were at the event said interest is high, but a lot of people did not meet the criteria.
In some instances, they fall short of the required height. So what we encourage them to do is to appeal for a height waiver where they are shorter than our required heights. We encourage young men and women aged 17 and a half years to come and do the test. By the time you're finished, we would have processed you and you'd be 18. The speed at which our turnaround now for recruiting, we have moved it from where it used to be, and now we're in the longest period, 4 to 6 months, the longest we take to recruit our force applicants.
Let's go to the war in Ukraine now. And the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has signaled his intention to begin rebuilding efforts even as the war with Russia continues. He made these comments during a recent trip to the city of Kharkiv, which was attacked by missiles just hours after he left.
Despite the secrecy, despite heavy security, a surprise visit to Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, is for a leader who was at the very top of Russia's kill list at the start of the war, at the very least, a calculated risk. President Volodymyr Zelensky, personally surveying the damage, made it clear it's never too soon to begin rebuilding.
We have to find some money and credit lines. The state must provide guarantees, and cities must find super projects and find the money. Because in the cities, governors and mayors are more likely to find one or another European program for housing construction, some state programs and some local programs. This is a chance to give a new look to such districts.
He even went to the front line to inspect Ukrainian positions and met with soldiers stationed in and around the city, handing out awards and service medals.
I want to thank each of you for your service. You risk your life for all of us and for our state. Thank you for defending the independence of our country. Take care of yourselves. Glory to Ukraine.
a trip meant to project strength and raise morale to a place that is still very much a front line in this war. A third of the city remains in Russian hands, and areas not occupied by Russian forces come under regular attack. Just hours after he left, there were missile strikes on the city. The Ukrainian president has won widespread admiration for his wartime leadership, at home and from allies in the West, which he is hoping translates into more long-range heavy weapons, and soon. Zelensky's first visit outside the Kyiv region comes as Russian forces continue to pummel cities in the east and south as part of the Russian forces' objectives to try and consolidate as many gains as possible in the Donbas region, and as Ukrainian forces plan and prepare to mount counteroffensives to try and stall and possibly push back what has been an unrelenting Russian advance.
We'll continue to look at developments there, but let's come back home and hear what Wendy has for you on this final day of the month, right here on Morning Barbados. It is Tuesday, so she'll see you in about 13 minutes' time. Wendy, what do you have for us today?
Well, Shane, we're going to be talking to the folks over at the Ministry of Public Works because they have a rather important meeting coming up on the 7th of June. They're going to be creating for us a roadmap to a safe and resilient road system. It's going to be at the LESC, and it is part of the 10th IRF Caribbean Regional Congress. The IRF is the International Road Federation. As you know, we're concerned about carbon emissions, the use of our roads, a number of things. So they're going to tell us all about what that conference will encompass and how that roadmap is going to be created to make it safer for us driving on the roads of this country. We're also going to have our conversations with CARICOM this morning instead, and we'll also hear from the folks over at the Barbados Trust Loans. We'll be talking to some of their clusters. You know, the spa business in Barbados is really expanding, and it's good to know that the expansion is working with brands that are locally made, created from local product by local people. So we'll hear all about that, as well as our conversation with our pediatrician. So lots more ahead, Shane.
Yeah, a lot happening as you wrap up the month here with us on Morning Barbados. You'll do that, our viewers, in a few minutes' time. But here on the Morning Report, you'll hear what are the drugs of choice for substance abusers here in Barbados and how they're working to address some of the trends. And we got a lot more news coming your way as well here in a matter of moments. Marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine continue to be the drugs of choice for individuals with substance abuse disorders here in Barbados. That's according to research assistant with the National Council on Substance Abuse, Laura Foster. In her presentation of the key findings of the 2020 Barbados Drugs Information Network, or BARDN report, she also stated that substance abuse amongst males under the age of 40 is a consistent pattern. She also noted there has been slow diversification of drugs with increased use of drugs like ecstasy and ketamine.
Traditional drugs such as alcohol and marijuana and cocaine were the main motivators for treatment. But it also shows us some of the new and emerging drugs on the local drug scene. So here we can see things like ecstasy at the psychiatric hospital and the NCSA and the prison. And we can also see ketamine at the Substance Abuse Foundation and lean at the prison within the Inmate Drug Rehabilitation and Counseling Program. And for those of you who are not familiar, lean is a mixture of codeine cough syrup with Sprite and usually a hard candy.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams, believes despite changes made to the marijuana legislation, greater focus needs to be placed on educating young people on marijuana use and those workers in high-stress jobs who unexpectedly turn to drugs.
Given the recent legislative changes surrounding marijuana and the global change in perspective and even the local change in perspective in relation to marijuana, it is imperative that we balance the resulting liberalization with public education in an effort to protect our young people. Education efforts should include information on the legislative changes themselves, as well as the harms associated with marijuana use and the difference between medical and recreational marijuana. Quite often, the persons you will not expect to use drugs, and they use it as a coping mechanism. So we also in the National Council on Substance Abuse need to look at young professionals who are in high stress jobs and target our messages there as well.
There is confirmation that Barbados has been impacted by the shortage of baby formula which originated in the U.S. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business Development, Sandra Husbands, provided a bit of background. She says the shortage stems from two issues. The first is a supply chain logistical challenge as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was compounded by the closure of Abbott Laboratories in the U.S., the manufacturing plant for Similac, following a product recall. The company has since reached an agreement with the Food and Drug Administration, and once the FDA issues an approval, Abbott could restart production within 2 weeks' time. But the company says it will take another 6 to 8 weeks before the product is available on store shelves. Minister Husbands says in Barbados' case, only one particular brand of formula is in short supply.
We've not had as big an impact in relation to the availability overall of baby formula. We would have had an impact in relation to the supplier of the Similac, and they're hoping to receive a shipment of the Similac sensitive powder and ready to feed formula within 1 to 2 weeks.
And Minister Husbands notes Barbados has an adequate supply of other brands of baby formula.
The other persons who sell and import the baby milk products, which would be other brands like Infamil or Lactogen, etc., they don't have any problems at the moment in relation to the availability of baby milk. Many of them are expecting shipments within the next 2 to 4 weeks, and so it is anticipated, and these primarily come in from other sources beside the United States. Some come in from Mexico, etc. So at the moment, Barbados will not have a problem with access to baby formula.
In other news, the recent inclusion, or the regional inclusion, featured at the just concluded AgroFest 2022 here in Barbados can have a powerful impact on regional integration. Speaking on the heels of the event, which he described as brilliant, Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, David Comichon, told CBC News this edition has historic significance. AgroFest was attended by the Barbados Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley, Guyana's Prime President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, and several ministers from CARICOM nations. Ambassador Comichon said the political leaders used the event to give a major push to two extremely important initiatives.
The CARICOM 25% food import reduction by the year 2025 initiative and the Barbados-Guyana Cooperation Initiative that is based on agricultural production and food security, but that also ranges into other multiple areas of cooperation, inclusive of tourism, housing, and the mining and natural resources sector.
Ambassador Comichon says the people of the region should pay close attention to what Prime Minister Motley and President Ali said regarding food security during the opening ceremony.
Consumers, we have to play our part by choosing to eat the right local and nutritious local and regional foods. The distributors, all the big supermarkets, they now have to put a greater emphasis on the local and regional foods. The banks and other finance and investment institutions need to support the local farmers and the drive to increase agricultural production. Our young people need to embrace agriculture and get on board. Our private sector, every sector of our community really needs to embrace this new effort.
Well, let's look at what is happening in the world of sports now. In the West Indies doing battle in the Netherlands in the first ODI at Asteveen. That is happening there. And the West Indies, they chose to field after winning the toss and are right now the Netherlands 91 for 1 of 18.5 overs. So a good batting performance so far by the Netherlands. Right now at the crease is Max O'Dowd, he's on 25, and Musa Ahmed, he's on 11 of 48 balls and 20 balls respectively. Vic Ramit Singh, he scored 47 from 45 balls. A good opening stand with Max O'Dowd. So that's the score right now. The West Indies the Netherlands 92 for 2. The West Indies are bowling right now. The lone wicket taker is Akil Hussain. He has 1 for 16 of 5 overs. We'll continue to update you on the match in subsequent newscasts. The first ODI, the West Indies versus the Netherlands. That's sports. Let's look at weather now. It's 26 degrees Celsius on the outside and mostly cloudy. It's feeling like about 29 degrees Celsius already. Yes, getting into those really warm summer months. The relative humidity stands at 75%. The barometric pressure is down to 10-12 millibars today. And those winds are coming out of the east at 23 kilometers per hour. We'll get a low tide this morning at 10:30. There will be a high tide later on in the afternoon at 6 minutes after 5. Those seas are smooth to moderate in open water. The swells are between 1 and 2 meters and holding steady. In Barbados today, we'll get a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And tonight, we'll have partly cloudy skies with a few brief isolated light showers. And here's a look at the international weather forecast. That's it for the Tuesday edition of Morning Barbados, the final one for the month. I'm Shane Seeley. Up next is Wendy Burke with Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
The International Road Federation, the Ministry of Transport and Works, CDB, Caribbean Development Bank, they're hosting this 10th conference. And it's going to be looking to create a roadmap of sorts, yes. A roadmap to a safe and resilient road system. It's going to be happening at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center, and the conference, which has been going since 2012, looks basically to establish new measures, implement policies, etc. going forward within the road and transport communication network. To help me discuss it, we have Majid El Abayad, who's the Vice President of the International Programs and Member Services with the IRF, and Pamela Payne, who is the Senior Admin Officer acting in the ministry. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wendy. Good morning, Barbados.
Yes, good morning to you as well. Now, a number of topics are down on the agenda for this conference. But before we get to them and the fact that 30 countries will be participating in this event and looking at various case studies and so on, let's talk about some of the work of the IRF, Majid.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, the IRF, we're an international nonprofit organization founded in 1948 with the goal to promote better and safer road networks around the world. We do that through, affecting policy, through conducting training and conducting congresses and events like this one in Barbados to bring together the best experts in the world to discuss solutions on how to improve road safety and how to build more resilient road networks, and also how to maximize, a country's investments. Typically, a country's most valuable asset is actually its road network, if you quantify it. So, how do you maintain it? How do you make it safe for the users? How to get the best return on investment.
Okay. Now, the folks over at MTW, we're talking about the infrastructure investments, the innovative financing, and elements of road safety. Now, Pamela, in terms of the services of MTW, how critical is this conference at this juncture?
Good morning, Wendy. Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning, Barbados. This conference is very critical because during this time of the year that we are having some climate changes going on in the world, and also the roads resilience to the weather and everything like that. So it's a very critical aspect for the Ministry of Transport Works and Water Resources. We are trying to maintain the resilience of these roads and everything and make it safe for all individuals while traversing on the roads.
Okay. Now, we're talking about road asset management, Pamela. Exactly what is that?
Road asset management actually is to fully ensure that the roads are suitable for all of us to walk and drive on, and to ensure that in case there's a slippage or anything so on the roads, that it doesn't harm anyone. There is no breakage or anything so in the roads. For instance, if there is a bridge that is broken, we have to make sure that that is okay for all of us to traverse on as we go through the roads.
Okay. If I can come back to you now, Majid, in terms of
Yes.
the work of the IRF and looking at road networks the world over, how would you describe Barbados's? What would you say about our highways and byways?
I think, I would like to applaud Barbados for the roads and highways. Of course, more work can be done, but I think on a regional level, Barbados is a leader in the Caribbean. I've seen the Ministry of Transport and Water Resources invested a lot of money into rehabilitating and improving the road network. So I would definitely give a positive grade to Barbados's road network. But it's still too many people die on the roads, whether it's in Barbados or other places around the world. And we call these needless deaths. There's a lot of solutions that can be implemented that can save lives. And when you look at the other kind of topic that we're discussing on the conference is resilience with the increased inclement and climate weather events. The road standards need to be upgraded in order to meet, this new normal of, increased hurricanes or increased other inclement weather. And, the roads also, in case of emergencies, there needs to be some sort of redundancy, evacuation routes for people to safely, get away from danger. But again, I'd like to, I've looked at some of the plans of the Ministry of Transport here in Barbados, and it's very impressive. I also applaud their effort to decarbonize the island by 2030, and that's also one of the aspects that IRF is pushing globally in trying to decarbonizing road transport.
Are a lot of people getting on board with renewable type energy vehicles?
I think it's increasing dramatically, and I was reading somewhere, but that by 2030, at least in like 1 out of every 3 vehicles will be an electric vehicle sold. So there is an acceleration of the adoption of electric vehicles. Of course, in order to have more adoption, you have to build the infrastructure, particularly with the charging network, and also to bring down the cost of the electric vehicles for the consumers. But we do think there's definitely a push, and I would, if I would predict, I think that there's going to be widespread adoption of electric mobility going forwards.
Okay, Pamela, back to you now, because we're also going to be talking about how to build capacity within the Caribbean Public Works Ministries. What is our own ministry doing in terms of being able to build out its capacity? You appear to be, right, I'm now hearing you. Start over for me kindly.
Yes, please. But with this conference that we have coming up, this is going to help the number one, help in trying to build the capacity here in Barbados. We have made a significant road ahead that we can ensure that everything is created here in Barbados, that we can have everyone, fully taken onto.
Hello? Okay, Pamela seems to have frozen on me there. Let me just get back to you quickly, Majid. In terms of the effect of COVID-19 on transport and the transport agencies, as an NGO, what have you found the situation to be generally? How significant has that impact been?
Well, what we've seen is there's been a significant impact on the utilization of transport, in particular, where the public transport usage has dropped around the world, and it really hasn't caught back up to levels of pre-pandemic. Now that comes to there's many reasons for that. Some of it's the the push to telecommuting and working from home, and also people are not as comfortable as they were before in using public transportation. So that's been one effect. And what we've done is we've tried to encourage governments and agencies to use best practice to encourage these increased ridership on public transport, make sure that people are aware that it's safe and secure, and kind of have the right protocols. It's also had an effect on the budgets of road agencies. A lot of the revenues would decrease. Driving, many countries depend on the gas tax and fees to help fund the road networks, and because of the decreased level of activity, there was a significant loss of revenue for many countries. So that's kind of what we've seen here at IRF, and we've been.
All righty, back to you now, Pamela. We were talking about how our Public Works Ministry is building out its capacity.
Yes, I'm sorry about that this morning. It seems my internet, I lost my internet here. Yes, the ministry is trying to build the capacity. We are trying to ensure that everything is to the standard where we wish it to be in the next 10 to 20 years from now. And therefore, we are trying to make sure that we have our electric vehicles. We are making sure that the roads are back to at least 90% completed. We have been doing some extra work with new roads, creating new roads and resurfacing and milling and paving some new roads now. Coming out for the next in another couple of months or so, we should be seeing some work.
Okay, now in terms of that milling and paving, is there any likelihood right now that we're going to move away from the asphalt roads? Remember, we were talking about the climate change and so on. And as we all know, the heat really impacts on that particular type of road surface. Could we in Barbados be moving towards more concrete roads or some other types of materials?
Well, the ministry right now is in the process of having meetings regarding that, and as soon as that does come out, we will certainly inform the public on that.
Okay, and a lot of this work is being done within our rural districts, the entire Scotland district, because that road network would have suffered badly as a result of erosion, the water, the land slippage, the whole lot of it. So can you give me any indication as to where we're at in that particular process, Pamela, in terms of the start of it, midway, where are we at?
Okay, right now the ministry, we are in process of start the process of doing the milling and paving in the Scotland district. As soon as that becomes available, and I don't wish to speak out of term, so that will be discussed, and the public will know of that information through the permanent secretary or the deputy prime minister, the Honorable Santia Bradshaw.
Okay. Now, I also realize that you've been doing a lot of road markings right now to ensure that the public is well aware of where they need to stop, having the crossings highlighted, etc. Is there a reason, what was the catalyst to make sure that this is redone, or is it just part of routine servicing?
That is a part of our routine servicing, and also with the road, with the water, the rain, and everything, and carriers are constantly going on the markings. We have to resurface and we have to repaint. So in order to avoid any incidents or accidents with our vehicles.
Okay. How are you looking forward to the conference, Majid? And what will the IRF be pushing primarily?
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we're looking forward to gathering the stakeholders from around the Caribbean to Barbados. This will be the 10th anniversary of the Congress, and we're, as I said before, we're pushing two things primarily: road safety. There's a need to do more across the region for road safety. More can be done to eliminate that, and also, people forget about injuries, and the injuries are also a significant cost to the countries. And what's the problem with road safety also is that a lot of the death are with younger generations. So you are with every road death, it's not and I hate to say it, but when you have COVID-19, it's it typically affects the older population more with the serious health implications. But with road safety, I mean, it's kids and teenagers and young people getting killed, and it's destroying future. So I think just bringing best practices and seeing how we can work together to harmonize practices around the Caribbean and improve road safety would be great. And the other option is the other thing we're talking about is the resilience road asset management. Like the road asset management, it's not just maintaining them in the best possible fashion to maximize the use of resources. So you want to treat the road and maintain the road before it deteriorates, because if you wait until the road deteriorates, instead of costing you $10, it will cost you $50, $70, $80, $90. So there needs to be put an emphasis on maintenance, proper asset management. And again, as I was saying, the new normal, okay, there is climate change is here. The world's doing its best to stop it.
That we are.
But but it's not going to change what's happening right now. So the roads now, when we're designing the roads and we think about maintaining them, we need to think about making them so that we stand these
Okay.
weather events.
All right. I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. Majid El Abayad, the Vice President of the IRF. Also, Ms. Pamela Payne, who's the Senior Admin Officer acting in the Ministry of Transport Works and Water Resources. I wish you well on June 7th as you have your conference at the LESC, and I'm sure we'll get lots more meat coming out of that conference in terms of how we as road users also need to help, not just the technocrats, but also we as the users of the road. Have a great morning, both of you, and thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you also.
I want to thank our guest this morning for joining us, that 10th IRF Caribbean Regional Congress, which is going to be coming up. Stay safe on the roads this morning. We'll be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And a good morning to you indeed. If you're now joining us, we're going to be talking to the folks at Barbados Trust Loans. They've been helping quite a few people. And one of the areas they've branched into is that of our spa services community. And we're going to be having two people in that cluster this morning who are going to tell us about their businesses and how Trust Loans has impacted them positively. We have Laura Beauty Spa and Luke's Handmade by Risa. Kimberly Taylor and Theresa Bovell are the owners respectively. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Now, let's start first with Theresa. Luke's Handmade by Risa. What are your product lines?
Lux Hand. Good morning, Wendy Burke. Thanks for having me. Lux Handmade by Risa. Yes, my product line is based on natural skincare. I recently added massage therapy. All my products are made locally. The additives I have within are from Barbados, like the lemongrass, the pea leaf, most of them are from Barbados.
Okay, so what got you into this? Was it always something you did, liked, saw somebody else doing?
A friend of mine started out helping her, but then she returned to the US and I continued from there. Since then, we started doing natural skincare in terms of the soaps. Since then, I had added heel balms, beard balms, massage oils, hair oils as well. And I started growing, I've always been into agriculture. I started growing a lot of the additives that I use within these soaps. And loafers was one of the other things I started growing. And I started adding that as well. So I saw the need for Barbados, with the Caribbean, to have our own natural skincare. And I saw the need for it and I went from there.
Okay, over to you now, Kimberly. What started Laura's Beauty Spa?
Well, Laura's Beauty Spa was founded straight out of Polytechnic. Next month we will be 4 years old. We do a various amount of services. We do waxing, sugaring, a little massage, and we also do facials. I'm also currently teaching classes as well to those who would like to add a little something extra to their income.
Okay, now you said you're straight out of the Polytechnic. Now, in terms of the products that you use within the spa, within your massages, your oils, etc., do you either make any of that product yourself or source from others within the cluster?
Well, the ingredients are sourced between myself and my silent partner that works along with me with the products. My products are mainly for like my clients who normally take home aftercare. So it's mainly like body scrubs, natural body scrubs like lemon and turmeric. I also have coconut, chocolate, and then a little customized one that is called beachy. That kind of having like lavender and tea tree oil as well. And I recently brought out a new product. It's called Dark Mark Serum. It has in turmeric oil and lemon oil. It's supposed to help fade any dark marks or hyperpigmentation marks that will be on the skin.
Okay, now we all know what waxing is, but sugaring is something new, is something different people are getting into. But some will tell you both are painful. What would you tell us, Kimberly?
Well, to be honest, it always depends on the person. Like for example, I may be okay with it, it may not do me anything, but then someone else may come and then it might be painful for them. There's a difference between waxing and sugaring. Sugaring is a bit more natural, as it's just sugar, water, and lemon mixed in a paste. It also has a different technique of hair removal as opposed to the waxing, whereas you would just apply the wax and remove it with a strip. So it tends to have a little bit more, both of them can be painful, yes, but again, it depends on the person. I don't want to say that it's painful, but it depends on the person because someone's pain threshold may be different than someone else's.
Very, very true. Let's go back to you now, Theresa. In terms of your link to the trust loans, how did you get on that path?
I did some research and I reached out to them and took it from there. My persons there that reached out to, that communicated with me were Nicole and Janicia. And I went in, I have conversation with them. They made contact with me with various pop-up shops and events that they had, AgriFest being the most recent, which has been a success. And their injection into my business had also caused me to expand in terms of doing more product. Instead of doing it on a smaller scale, I am able to do much more product.
Okay, and where are you found now? Are you retailing on your own, or do you have access to online and in-store markets?
I'm retailing on my own at present. However, through Barbados Trust Funds and Loan, they have an online platform, Omniverse, and I am starting with that as well. So you will find me online.
Okay, and what about your journey, Kimberly? When did it start?
I found out about Barbados Trust Fund through a family friend, and then my journey just started from there. I applied, and they have made my business really stepped up from where I started.
Okay, tell me, when you say stepped up, what some of those steps have been. Where did they bring you from, and where are you at now?
Okay, well, my spa is a home-based spa, so it's at my home. So I was able to make like some personalized changes. I was able to add AC unit to the spa. I was able to get an additional bed and other equipment as well. When I first started, I didn't have as much equipment as I had now, so the funding from them really helped me.
Okay, that's wonderful to know. And you said, Teresa, that your time at the just concluded AgriFest was a success. Tell me what you rate that success based on.
In terms of exposure, we had lots of exposure. We had, in terms of the massaging as well, we had persons coming in, have 10-minute massages, and since then I have gotten phone calls, people who wanted to book for this week and the upcoming Father's Day. Also, we had packages that were being put together for Father's Day, for mostly for the men, section that I call all about the men. So it consists of heel band, beer band, and what I call a footsie therapy, where the men come in and they have the pedicures and they have a foot scrub, a mint bath, and the men like that. So I have a lot of bookings for that in the upcoming month.
Now that's interesting to note, because there's some people who think that men are not into self-care.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to note that they are stepping up and moving forward with it. Kimberly, is your male clientele growing too?
Yes, especially in terms of the waxing and sugaring. Definitely, yes.
Most men I know are averse to taking hair off of their skin. The first thing they say is, it's manly. You're supposed to have hair. So a naughty question here. What's the body part that men prefer to have sugared? Back, chest, where?
Let's just say below the belt.
Okay. So now that is one that I wouldn't say is shocking, because I know a lot of male athletes who do wax or sugar, because they say it helps in training, especially cyclists. But it is, and you admit, a thing that some men will say no to. They're like, no, who would do that? Why should you do that? A razor works better, right? But I'm sure you've been able to show them that, it's a little less invasive, a little less painful, and you don't have the issues of the said hyperpigmentation once you wax or sugar. Right. So I'm glad that the men are stepping up. We have Kimberly and Teresa out here, so once you can find them. Now let's talk about that part. How do we find you? How has the trust loans helped both of you in terms of your marketing and getting within, not just through their pop-ups, but outside of that, helping business to grow? I'll start with you first, Teresa.
Yes, Omniverse is a new platform they introduced me to. So after we speak, I am heading there to give them some of my products for them to photograph and get my online store set up. Also, they taught me in terms of marketing, places that I can go to, because a lot of people are more into the online and the internet. So they push that. Also, they let us know that when we were doing our displays, flyers are still an option.
Okay, so you're still into printing. What about Kimberly?
Okay, well, I mainly advertise on Instagram, also my WhatsApp as well. The Instagram, I would normally do videos, especially my teaching videos when I'm teaching students. I normally record and then will normally post. Barbados Trust Funds also had an influencer pass by, and I did a facial on him. The influencer at Nattenberg, I did a facial on him as well, and they have posted it on their Instagram page. And that had gotten some runs as well for me. And so it's mainly Instagram that is my push.
Okay, now you mentioned that the spa is at home, but what about things like call outs? Do you do house calls? Are you interested in the pop-ups as well?
Before, when I first started, I would have done house calls, but because the spa actually feels like a spa, I just work strictly from home now.
Okay. And what about you, Teresa? What's your preference to deal with your products where you are, or you like going to the customer?
I like doing both. This afternoon, I have clients that are coming in, and yesterday I have an elderly client. I usually go to him once or twice a week. So for
Okay.
me, both works. I also do the house calls as well as have clients coming in.
Now, you mentioned that it's an elderly customer. So you find that our aging population is also akin to having these natural butters and scrubs and so on used on them?
Yes, and one person in particular, the person that I went to yesterday, he uses the massage oil because he has dry skin. He uses the massage oil and the heel balm. And once or twice a week, I go to him and I take him through a series of exercises as well as massages.
Okay, so you're also helping to keep those builders of our country safe and intact. And Kimberly, you are making sure that you take care of the guys as well. I'm happy for that. Yes, get more of them into self-care. They think it's only a woman's world, but there's nothing wrong with some good male grooming. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. Kimberly Taylor and Teresa Bovell, two of the BTFL clients. Here's hoping that you continue with trust loans and your businesses grow from strength to strength. Have a great morning, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our news update with Shane Seeley.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Here's your headline news for this Tuesday, May the 31st, final day of the month. A new plan for testing for high blood pressure will be launched in about 2 months' time to address some disturbing trends seen during May Measurement Month. The project, dubbed the Barbados Barbershop Blood Pressure Project, or BIMCUT BP, starts in August with the aim of getting more people tested, especially the men, and for those who need it, the necessary treatment. Speaking exclusively to the Morning Report, Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences at the UWI Capefield campus, Dr. Kenneth Connell, says the aim is to have barbers testing their clients and barber shops paired to polyclinics to help fast-track those men and women into the system. Dr. Connell is confident this approach can work to address what is a silent killer in our population.
We actually have data out of the United States in Los Angeles and New Orleans where two arms in the project, the same barbershop project. One arm had a structured intervention. They used a pharmacist. In our setting, we probably will use a nurse who tracked these patients, who got them more importantly, onto lifestyle and medication changes. And the other group, we just kind of told, reduce your salt, get some more exercise, the usual thing a barber might be expected to tell you almost in a script. Now, at the end of 6 months, the difference in the systolic or the top number of the blood pressure was about 27.6 in those people who actually were fast-tracked in the health system, and it only fell by about 9 in those people who were not. So there's a clear difference. And so the Barbershop Project is an opportunity for men to be screened, but also to be fast-tracked into treatment.
The QEH consultant internist strongly believes this is a much needed response after gathering some anecdotal data during May measurement month, which continues right down to August. According to him, during testing in May, roughly 4 to 5 out of every 10 people showed elevated blood pressure readings, which is a cause for concern.
Any shockers that have come out this month? Well, it is always alarming to me, although it's not much of a shocker, to be fair, to see some very high numbers in people who really did not know they had hypertension. So they just volunteered and said, I'll have my blood pressure checked. I haven't done it for a good 5-year period. I'll just have it checked. And then it shocks them to see that the reading is so high. So that's one category. And I find that, interestingly, a lot of these clusters, and clusters is a very special word now in the pandemic, but a lot of these high blood pressure clusters have occurred within certain businesses. Interestingly enough, or certain sites. Then the second category of people, these are people who are diagnosed with high blood pressure, who are taking medication, some of them admit forgetting a few times, and are also shocked at how high their blood pressure is, which suggests they're taking the tablets, but they're not really monitoring their blood pressure at home.
Marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine continue to be the drugs of choice for individuals with substance abuse disorders here in Barbados. That's according to research assistant with the National Council on Substance Abuse, Laura Foster. In her presentation of the key findings of the 2020 Barbados Drug Information Network, or BARDN report yesterday, Ms. Foster stated that substance abuse amongst males under the age of 40 is a consistent pattern. She also noted there has been a slow diversification of the drug situation with increased use of drugs like ecstasy and ketamine.
Traditional drugs such as alcohol and marijuana and cocaine were the main motivators for treatment. But it also shows us some of the new and emerging drugs on the local drug scene. So here we can see things like ecstasy at the psychiatric hospital and the NCSA and the prison. And we can also see ketamine at the Substance Abuse Foundation and lean at the prison within the Inmate Drug Rehabilitation and Counseling Program. And for those of you who are not familiar, lean is a mixture of codeine cough syrup with Sprite and usually a hard candy.
There's confirmation that Barbados has been impacted by the shortage of baby formula, which originated in the United States. Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business Development, Sandra Husbands, provided a bit of background. She says the shortage stems from 2 issues. The first is a supply chain logistical challenge as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. These were compounded by the closure of Abbott Laboratories in the U.S., the manufacturing plant for Similac, following a product recall. The company has since reached an agreement with the Food and Drug Administration, and once the FDA issues an approval, Abbott could restart production within 2 weeks' time. But the company says it will take another 6 to 8 weeks before the product is available on store shelves. The minister says in Barbados' case, only one particular brand of formula is in short supply.
We've not had as big an impact in relation to the availability overall of baby formula. We would have had an impact in relation to the supplier of the Similac, and they're hoping to receive a shipment of the Similac sensitive powder and ready to feed formula within 1 to 2 weeks.
And Minister Husbands notes Barbados has an adequate supply of other baby brands and other baby formula brands. And that's where we wrap up this edition of our headline news. You'll have more with Wendy Burke on the other side as Dr. Birchwood joins her to talk about baby formula and what other options there are for mothers here in Barbados. We'll take a break and be right back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It's Tuesday, the last day of May, and we're going to have our conversation on CARICOM this morning with His Excellency Ambassador to CARICOM, David Commichon. Good morning to you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, good morning to you. Now, we saw a lot firsthand of this Barbados-Guyana cooperation and the whole thrust toward our food security, CARICOM food security, on Saturday and Sunday coming out of the AgroFest. Now, we had the president of Guyana in because that's how critical this link is, Ambassador, that the president actually came and was part of our opening session, as well as Prime Minister Motley. And we're going to go now we're going to look at the clips of the president and all that he had to say. Because for me, David, there was something he said which concerns me greatly, and that was the issue of the food catastrophe that could be coming for us here in the region. You know, so how would you say, David, that catastrophe can be mitigated with the efforts that we're on now?
Thanks for that question, Wendy. We have to be guided by history. Just 2 years ago, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when countries all over the world were scrambling for supplies of personal protective equipment and then for COVID-19 vaccines, what we recognized was that the wealthy countries of this world simply hoarded these things, kept them to themselves. And our Caribbean countries, even though we were trying to purchase these things from the international market, we were routinely ignored, presumably because the quantities we were seeking to purchase were so small. And so that's a cautionary tale. All the signs are there that the world is heading towards a situation of food scarcity. And we should be very concerned that when that materializes, because it is already well on its way, that a similar thing will happen again. Big, wealthy countries will hoard the available food supplies, and we will be left stranded. So that brings home how critical it is for us to implement this CARICOM Agri-Food Security Program. It was Prime Minister Motley who, back in, I think, either 2018 or 2019, came up with 2018, the proposal that we must put a program in place to reduce the regional's food import bill by 25% by the year 2025.
Okay.
And the president of Guyana, who has charge of the CARICOM Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Agriculture, he then took that challenge and ran with it. And now we have this CARICOM food program that we are trying to implement, and it is coming at the right time because it is coming when at a time when food scarcity is virtually upon us.
Let's hear what he had to say now.
As I speak to you today, one of the most recent headlines in The Economist is about the coming food catastrophe. Only last weekend, we saw headlines in international news of a military mission for baby formula. We're seeing headlines across every single country about empty shelves and rising costs for food. Wheat price is forecasted to increase by 40%. But worse than this increase is the ability to supply. And we know in this region, like many other developing economies, when there is a shortage of supply, we are not the top priority for the demand that exists. That is why we have to fix this. And we have to fix it as a collective. We have to understand that the challenges that will come will impact us the most. And our only tool to mitigate those challenges is increasing our own production, removing sometimes the thoughtless impediments to trading between ourselves.
We've heard it firsthand, Ambassador. We have to start trading between ourselves because these larger countries are not going to be putting us first of thought when it comes down to that scarcity issue.
Well, the good news, Wendy, is the region was very fortunate that Prime Minister Motley came with that initiative back in 2018. Very fortunate that President Ali is the kind of leader he is, very hands-on. He moved with alacrity, and in the space of 18 months, he, with the help of the Ministerial Task Force on Agriculture that CARICOM put together, they have put together a comprehensive plan for the development of agriculture in the Caribbean. And just a couple of weeks ago in Guyana, we had the Agricultural Forum and Expo, Agricultural Investment Forum, because it was all about drumming up potential investors to invest in agriculture. But out of that forum has come a 5-prong agenda. The first prong is that the heads of government have mandated President Ali's Ministerial Task Force to come up, to put together an implementation schedule for their plan and to present it to the heads of government by the heads of government conference in early July. So an implementation schedule with timelines to how we are going to implement that plan. Secondly, they have tasked Prime Minister Motley with pulling together a committee that will comprise the Prime Ministers involved in the Transport Committee, and that's led by Prime Minister Gonzalez of St. Vincent. The Prime Ministers involved in the Agriculture Committee that is led by President Ali, and she is to pull together that committee to produce a proposal for enhancing maritime and air transport across our region so that we can move agricultural goods and products in a more efficient way. So that's one of the impediments. One of the impediments is that the transportation deficit. The third thing that they came up with, and again, Prime Minister Motley has been mandated, she will put together a special committee to produce a plan to remove the barriers to trade in agricultural products within our region. And those barriers tend to be the many and sometimes conflicting sanitary and phytosanitary regulations, and also custom regulations that are cumbersome and inefficient and prevent us from being able to move agricultural produce all across our region. So
Okay.
her committee is to come up. And finally, Trinidad and Tobago will be holding a follow-up agri-investment forum in August. So we are on our way, and AgroFest was a demonstration of how Barbados and Guyana are kind of fast-tracking this program within a bilateral relationship between those two countries.
Before we go, David, I want to let the audience see firsthand how the Prime Minister is actually in the forefront and looking to build on this platform that we have. Here now is Prime Minister Motley at AgroFest's launch.
This relationship, as I have said when I last visited Georgetown, goes back way beyond 170 years. And indeed, Barbadians left in droves just after emancipation to come to Guyana to help build the sugar industry and the factories. Guyana was able to repay that by leading in Barbados the process of industrialization in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. And then, of course, Guyanese have worked back and forth here over the course of the last 20 years, boosting Barbados's construction industry, boosting Barbados's agricultural sector. Indeed, when we go tomorrow to Brown's Pond, I am sure that you will see the evidence of exactly what I am talking about. I say these things only very briefly to tell you that we believe that we are standing on a strong platform and that it is time now for us to move to the next level, especially as we face these multiple challenges that have confronted us over the course of the last 2 years. That President Ali and Minister Mustafa have been able to move with lightning speed over the course of the last 18 months to put this region in a position where we not only endorsed the plan in March in Belize at the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, but were able then to meet in Guyana last week in perhaps one of the largest agricultural investment fora ever to be held in this Caribbean region in the post-independence era, is of significant mention from us. And we thank you both for leading that effort.
Well, there we have it firsthand, Ambassador. The Prime Minister and the other regional ministers all in this fight to have food security in the region. We're well on our way. We know you are doing your job as well, Ambassador Commichon. I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. Not on a traditional day, but I'm sure next week when you're back with Pearson, you'll have lots more to update him on. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wendy. It was my pleasure.
Have a great morning. That was His Excellency Ambassador David Commichon, Barbados's ambassador to CARICOM. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our pediatrician on call tell you how you can help with this whole milk shortage situation.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It's time now for our doctor on the line. This morning it's pediatric care with Dr. Gillian Birchwood, who's a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Good morning to you, Dr. Birchwood. Always great to see you on a Tuesday.
Good morning, Wendy. How are you doing today?
I am not at 100%, but I'm here hearty and ready to go. Now we're talking about the formula shortage. I said milk, but there are lots of children who can't use milk. So we're facing a shortage now in terms of formula globally. So that means it impacts on Barbados as well. Why is formula that important? And why can't more mothers just opt to breastfeed in this current situation?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question, Wendy, because, a lot of people have been making comments about the formula shortage. There's been a lot of concern from parents about it as well. And the truth is that although almost all mothers really want to breastfeed, in some situations they're not able to for medical reasons, either in the mother or in the baby, or the more practical reason of it may be very challenging for them to breastfeed despite their best efforts. And of course, we have a very large working force of women in Barbados. And therefore, when they go back out to work, it is often challenging, very difficult, or impossible for them to breastfeed. So it isn't a situation of unwillingness in the vast majority of cases. There are other factors to consider when when we come and talk about breastfeeding. So formula becomes a very important stopgap or supplement, or in some cases, the only food that is available for babies. And because it is specially designed for babies, it is the only acceptable substitute for breastfeeding, which of course is the #1 recommendation.
Okay, so the particular brand of formula that my child uses is out of stock. What am I to do as a parent?
Yes, so this has been a major concern for parents of children who are less than 1 year old, because children who are less than 1 year old really do not have an acceptable substitute for breast milk or formula. And so the first thing that the parent needs to do is consider whatever other brand is available. Babies can sometimes be very particular and refuse another brand, but any other brand typically is acceptable, although you may have a preferred brand. You may also have to go towards formulas that perhaps may have been designed for babies with, symptoms that your baby doesn't have, like fussiness and gas or lactose problems. Those are still acceptable substitutes. So the first thing to do is to change the brand, and you can use formulas that perhaps you may not have traditionally considered for your baby, but would still be a safe stopgap until you're able to get back the availability of the one that you would use for your child.
I'm glad you mentioned the word tradition. What of things like sega, barley, tapioca, those things that we would have been raised and weaned on as children?
Yes. Well, I will tell you that a lot of grandmothers are not going to be very pleased with what I have to say, but the truth is that these are not acceptable substitutes for formula or breast milk. They do not have the nutritional profile that is required for babies' optimal growth and development. While they may fill a tummy, they do not offer an acceptable substitute. And I have seen children who've had malnutrition and poor growth from getting too much of these substitutes, which are definitely not acceptable. So I don't want parents to feel comfortable saying, I didn't get formula, so I'm going to give you some barley or oats or sega. That's definitely not acceptable as a substitute.
But don't children eat foods anymore? You usually start to introduce soft foods from 3 years old, and by getting the child on a regular diet of vegetables and fruits, you then minimize the amount of formula or cereal that needs to be given to them.
Right. So from 4 to 6 months of age, babies can be weaned to solids, but the amount of solids that they will be consuming at that age also will not be sufficient to meet their entire nutritional their nutritional requirements. And so it's very important to look at the foods that they're introduced to at that age as more like hors d'oeuvres, but not really a full meal. The backbone of their diet will still be the breast milk and the formula. So if your baby is getting formula and you think, okay, I can start introducing some foods, it would definitely not be safe to cut back on the number of bottles, or you would certainly be compromising their nutrition. So that is also alone not going to create an appropriate stopgap.
Okay, I have 5 cans left in my supply cupboard because I buy a case, which makes sense most of the time to cut down on costs. How can I stretch it over time until this shortage ceases?
Yes, so one of the things that parents have been asking about as well is whether or not you can add additional water to it, perhaps to stretch things out. That's also dangerous for the baby because you're going to water down the nutrients, the calories, the minerals, the electrolytes, the proteins, and the fat that your growing baby needs. During the first year of life, babies grow the most rapidly. They will never grow so fast again for the rest of their lives. And so it's extremely important to make sure that you do not cheat them of the calories and instead end up giving them a belly full. So it is not suitable to dilute the formula down. And if there is a shortage, one of the things that parents have done is go not just to your regular supermarket, but go as well to the mom and pop shops that are around town that perhaps might still have stocks of baby formula that might have disappeared from the larger supermarkets. You should consider going on social media because there may be parents out there who have supplies at home that they may not use because their baby is older or it may no longer be suitable. And you should consider going on the internet because there is safe baby formula for sale from reputable sites on the internet, and you should definitely consider that. So reach out for help, let people know, talk to your doctor. Sometimes there are cans of samples at pediatricians' offices that will be made available to parents as well.
Oh yes, those pediatric samples come in handy quite regular, especially when your child is moving from that 3-month and heading toward the 6-month stage and the formula has to be changed and you find that they don't digest the new one as well and you have to be on the trial and error. I mean, nobody wants to spend like that for the large can, but you can just have this small one. Now, what about cow and goat's milk? You and I would have been raised on that, and it didn't harm us any then.
Well, that is very important for parents to know. So cow's milk and goat's milk are designed for calves and baby goats. I wouldn't say kids because I don't want people to think I'm talking about humans, but they're designed for calves and baby goats. So because they are not designed for humans, their components are quite different. So both cow's milk and goat's milk are very, very high in protein, much higher than a baby would need. And so if you feed a baby cow's milk and goat's milk for a prolonged period of time, then what will happen is that their body will try to produce excessive amounts of urine to get rid of the extra protein. And over time, this can cause kidney failure and kidney stress in little babies. It can cause them to become dehydrated. Those milks also do not contain the appropriate nutritional profile. For example, goat's milk does not contain sufficient amounts of folic acid. Cow's milk does not contain enough iron, and these can result in anemia, which can alter your child's development permanently if it happens in the first year of life. And finally, the electrolytes and the minerals that are present are in a much higher quantity than is appropriate for a human baby, and can result in electrolyte and mineral imbalances that can result in seizures and spasms. So giving cow's milk or goat's milk plain is definitely a dangerous substitution for young babies who are less than a year old.
Okay, and finally, is it possible to make your own formula out of anything else which might be within your home?
So there are recipes that I've seen on the internet dating back to the 1940s and the 1950s for, a baby formula preparation using various components like evaporated milk, etc. Those are also quite dangerous. So we're back again to the appropriate nutritional profile for a human baby. And there's a reason why those formulas fell out of favor. Babies had complications from them, and in worst case scenarios, they ended up in hospital. So please stay far away from those formula recipes that you will see on the internet. Consult your doctor and discuss with them options that are safe and available for your baby.
Okay, we're happy to know this. The whole issue of the seizures and so on from the milk, that's a little concerning. Yes. So no one wants to harm their child in any way. So Correct. We all want them to stay safe, and we want this shortage to end. There was also something else I was seeing, the sharing of breast milk. They're like actually breast milk banks. How do you feel about that for our region?
So a breast milk bank, you'll find them in many countries around the world. And essentially, moms who have extra breast milk will donate their breast milk to the bank. But it's treated just like how you would treat a blood product, for example. The milk would be tested, the mom would be tested, and it would be stored in a way that would kill any active factors that could be harmful to a baby. So it's a very stringent process to ensure that the milk is free from infection that can be harmful to someone else's baby. So where there is a formal breast milk bank, it can be a fantastic resource. But it would not be good enough for your neighbor to provide some breast milk, because you don't know what else might be coming along with that can prove dangerous or even fatal to your baby. So no, not unless there's a proper formal setup for a breast milk bank.
Okay, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Birchwood. Here's hoping you have a great day, and here's hoping some relief comes to these mothers soon, and that baby formula gets back into production on a high scale. Have a great morning.
Yes. Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
Thank you. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk things real estate. And we're back. It's time to talk real estate. Yes, we're going to be having Agent Sharita with us this morning, Sharita O'Dell, the Facebook Real Estate 246 and IG at Agent Sharita. It's good to see you again. How are you?
Rested and relaxed.
That is always a great place to be. Now this morning we're looking at the fact that we have a home in a decent location, and we want to make that decision in terms of how we should rent, long-term or short-term. What are the factors that will determine which way we should go?
Well, first of all, you need to understand what the terminology means. So short-term rental has to do with more so vacation rental. It's usually when a property is furnished and it's leased out on a nightly or weekly basis. So that's short-term. Long-term rentals, we tend to think of those properties which offer accommodation for 1 year or more. And they can be unfurnished, semi-furnished, or furnished. So obviously, first of all, your location is a big factor in determining if you can even consider a short-term or holiday rental for your property. If you are in the middle of the Goonies and no one is coming even to visit you, why is a holiday maker necessarily going to want to stay there? So you have to keep that in mind first and foremost when making that decision.
Okay, but it depends on the type of holiday maker. Somebody might just want to get away, you know, shut it all out for a little while. There are travelers who want to do that, you know, have some seclusion because life is just so busy. Okay, so the location is important and that is the determination. Now, if you decide to do short term, does it always have to be a situation where you leave the furniture in because, you know, the people are going to be going? Or would you say, okay, I want to keep my nice furniture, so I'm going to buy some smaller pieces and put within the property to rent because the location is so good, I'll make that what I've spent on that furniture plus the cost of the maintenance to my home?
Good question. So when you're dealing with short-term rentals, remember for the most part, if you're in a prime location, you might be dealing with a high turnover rate. In other words, a high volume of persons coming through, particularly during the season. So you don't necessarily want to go and put in the best furniture unless you are in a villa rental situation where you are charging luxury rates. However, if you're the run-of-the-mill type of vacation accommodation, you look for furniture primarily that can handle rough and toughness, some wear and tear. Somebody who cares nothing about your property dive bombing it with a wet swimsuit after a day at the beach. So in terms of that, it's often good to keep your eyes out on sometimes there are hotel sales where you can get secondhand furniture, and that furniture is already tried and tested within that environment. Or you can also get that tougher furniture which doesn't necessarily cost an arm and a leg. So you have to think durability when thinking furnishings.
Okay, what about the long term now? What are some of the key pros and cons that I need to be aware of?
All right, so remember I said there are 3 types of rentals: unfurnished, semi-furnished, and furnished. So unfurnished is going to get you the lowest rental rate, but the beauty is you don't have to do anything but make sure that those walls are looking nice and cute and that your bathroom and kitchen, plumbing and so forth is functional. They turn up with all of their furniture, including stove, fridge, everything else. So that's the plus of unfurnished, but you might get the lowest rate. So let's take a typical 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, for example, an average property. Let's say in a nice neighborhood, you might get unfurnished $1,200 to $1,400. However, when you furnish that, meaning that you put in beds, side tables, couch, dining table, patio furniture, the big 3 appliances, fridge, stove, washing machine, that rate might now be able to go up to $1,800 to $2,000 once it's furnished nicely. So it makes a difference to you in terms of revenue, but of course there's an outlay of cost if you decide to go the furnished route.
Okay, and what about provision for accidental loss? Like, suppose you decide you are going to appoint this home nicely and you have statuettes and vases and the whole lot of it in this house to give that person that click and go experience. Just turn the key and, you know, life awaits you. How do you factor those losses into your rental costs?
So in terms of short-term rentals, that rental rate is usually a good enough rate that if somebody drops a glass or breaks your coffee maker, you just exhale and continue on with life. Also, with short-term rentals, what you can do is ask for a refundable deposit along with the payment at the start of the rental. Once everything is in order and all your pieces are back there at the end of their stay, that amount is refunded. Likewise, with long-term rentals, you should always factor in a security deposit so that if Johnny decides to paint your walls black and he argues that he's not turning them back to the original color, you can then state that, you know, the cost to restore it is $500. You outline that, you show it with your receipts, etc., and you deduct that from the security deposit. So with both short-term and long-term rentals, you cover yourself with a security deposit. Be mindful, however, when you're furnishing, don't leave all the pretty cute stuff that is personal to you in there, because remember, it may not have that much significance to someone else.
Okay, so you have to protect oneself. Earn that revenue, but protect your interests all at the same time. Yeah. Well, Sharita, we want to thank you this morning for joining us. As you know, you help homeowners navigate what they want to do with their property should they want to have some extra revenue coming in from it. I wish you a brilliant morning and a terrific Tuesday.
You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's Agent Odell. Agent Sharita Odell. You can find her on IG at Agent Sharita. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting on the floor with Thornwood, our fitness instructor.
Saying you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world. Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And it's time to exercise this morning. Yes, I'm here with Thornwood, our fitness instructor. We have our bands. We're ready to go. Let's hope that I don't need a bandage by the time Thorn is finished with me. What are we going to be doing, Thorn?
Randy, why are we speaking about people think like this in the air? You think this is a toy?
Well,
this is a serious piece of equipment.
Okay.
This is to help us achieve physical goals. I would like you to treat it with some respect.
Okay.
All right, today we're doing a glute day finisher. So it's back up, yeah. All right. So usually, you know, you just think about, you just smashed your legs, you had a great leg workout, and you just want to push the canister a little bit, right? I like to keep it simple when it comes to these exercises, so we can take the band.
Okay.
All right, you're gonna put it around just above
the knee.
Just above the knee.
Okay.
Just above the knee. All right. So what I like to do first, I like to really use isometrics where this is concerned. So usually, put the band around your knee. What we're gonna do is just keep it super simple. Are you having a little trouble?
I just want it straight.
You need some assistance?
I don't want it to have any creasing.
You don't have any creasing?
No.
Okay, all right. So, 30 seconds or 2 minutes, Wendy?
Let's try the 30 first.
Right, so we go down, we're gonna hold down for 30 seconds, right? So, remember this is a glute day finisher.
How wide do I need to
Just
expand?
outside of shoulder width, Wendy, just outside of shoulder width.
Okay.
Squat down, try to maintain good squat form. So take your hips back, all right? So guys, remember you want to focus on creating a natural line with your hips. Think about pushing your quads open, Wendy, you gotta sit on some more. There you go, a little bit more. There you go, don't brace on your knees. You gotta take off your hands off your knees.
Okay.
Wendy, gonna bring a chair for you?
I think so.
Let me get a chair for you super quickly. Come. We're going the full 9 yards today. Right? So
Fine.
usually if you had bad squat form,
Yeah.
I would put you to face a wall.
Okay.
And you would drag your hands down the wall to maintain that line.
Okay.
So you're obviously trying to think about if you're sitting in a chair but you don't sit all the way back. So go down to your hovering just above the chair, sit back. Good. There you go, Wendy. Come, turn everybody, let everybody sleep on the side. Come, face that way. Alright, so you can use the chair, just hover just above the chair, sit back. Nice squat form. We're going to hold that for about 30 seconds. 30 seconds to go. Hold it. 27 seconds, Mandy. Get a little bit lower. A little bit lower.
Ah, you're going to kill me. You're going to kill me.
You got 20 seconds to go. Nice
And
clip
I'm
on.
out.
Ah, Wendy, come. You owe me 15 seconds. You owe me 15 seconds. Sit back down. Let me
This
go.
resistance.
15. 1, 5. Let me go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. And at this point, we would do 10 bodyweight squats. Usually, it would be 20.
Yes.
But I can start you at 10, all right?
Okay.
So I want to hover over the chair the same way. What you're going to do is just tap the chair when you go down. Nice little tap.
Tap the chair
Yeah,
with
you
my
gotta
butt.
Yeah, tap the chair with your butt.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
There you go. Go for 10. Go. And 10. Up. 9. I see you touching your chair, Mandy. 8. You're trying to treat. There you go. 7. Drive.
6. 5.
4. Who you guys trying this with us? 3, 2, 1. Good.
I made it.
We are done yet?
Oh, sorry.
This is part of two other exercises.
Ooh.
Now I can do this one. You can watch me do this one. You can
Yeah.
do this one, all right? So, you're on the floor now, all right? Remember, this is our finisher. So our muscles are more or less close to their limit. This is one of my favorites. So we go on the floor, another isometric. Glute bridge up. You're holding that for 30 seconds. Now, for the duration of this time, guys, your butt does not touch the ground. You stay hovering.
While stretching the band.
While stretching the band. Yes, while stretching the band. So we're going to go on it for 30 seconds. After this, we're going to rep for 10. 10 going straight up. Glute bridges 9, 8, 7,
And I
6,
keep my shoulders to
5,
the back.
yep, shoulder blades and everything. 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, we stay hovering. One leg is in the air. We go unilateral, so single leg. Another 10. 10 here. And this is for my guys as well. You need to work your glutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still hovering. Change your leg. Stay engaged. Keep that knee driving up. Create that angle right there. 10.
And this is a 90-degree
9,
angle.
yep. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's one of my favorite glute finishers. Depending on how I'm feeling on the day, I repeat that
You're
maybe
sure
3,
it's just a finisher?
3. Yeah, that's a finisher, definitely.
Okay.
3 or 4.
I don't want to see
rounds.
the starter then.
3 or 4 rounds. We can get real complicated with it. Sometimes we throw some drop squats in there, you know, to get real excited. So you can try the glute bridges.
That's a lot. I
You
don't
got-
think
you
so.
got-
I think my bridge would
You go.
become would be over troubled waters So since we don't create any troubled waters this morning.
You know, so okay,
No.
okay. So if you're not gonna do the glute bridges, you gotta go back over from the top.
Okay.
At this time, you guys at home, y'all got a chair
At this
with
time,
us.
no chair?
This time, well, we can see. Well, let me see how it looks for the chair. Let me see if you create our mind muscle connect to create the correct form. Let's see. Squat down. Ah, when you're pronating, we don't want you to pronate. Yes, so you gotta think about the hips, guys. Going back, but you don't want to sit back here. You're going all the way back. You want to create a nice angle between your torso and your thigh. You're sitting down. That's better, Wendy. And drive up. All right. I like to take the same concept with deadlifts, with our squatting, with pushing the floor away as you go down. So you go down and push up, squeeze down. Good, Wendy. You ready? 30 seconds. You go hold for the whole 30 seconds. Y'all ready at home? I know y'all ready. I'm not asking y'all. Here we go. 3,
The clock go fast.
2, 1. Down. There we go, Wendy. You don't need too much. Hold the nice form. I'll be your hands up in the air like this here. You afraid now? Good. 20 seconds to go. Mandy, remember when we finish, we're coming up, we're going for 10 squats. All right? 15. Mandy, go come back down here with me, Mandy. You can't let me down here with myself.
These hips don't work anymore. These hips don't work anymore.
That's what we exercising to get into work. Let me go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10 squats, Mandy. 10 squats. There we go. 10. Let me go. Actually, we'll do 15 because you start early. Let me go. 3, 2, 1. 15. Go.
Play some music.
There you go, Mary. Speaking next time.
Yeah. Get me in the swing.
Drink water.
It's
my
business.
I lost count, Mandy. I wasn't counting.
We're only at 4.
When adult, you gotta start from the top.
We're only at 4.
Oh, right, 4. Okay.
Yeah, we were only at 4.
Okay, all right, we go. 11 and 10. Come, time go now. 9. Drive, Mandy. 8, 7. Keep your chest up. 6. There we go. 5. Hips back. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good.
I think you're a finisher. Finish me.
So many the guys, and I want you to work on when you're doing your squat. I don't want you to curve your back when you're leaning forward here. I want you to maintain a nice lifted chest.
Erectness.
So the idea is not to roll your shoulders back when you're squatting because you don't want that either.
Okay.
You want a natural line. So I like to tell people about sitting in a chair. You don't sit in a chair like this.
No.
You don't sit in a chair like this.
No.
Allow your body knows the shape it needs to make. So sit down, nice and comfortably. Down, hold that position. Down, down, down.
And we're good.
And we're good.
And we've come to the end of this morning's show. Thorn, thank you for giving me my sweat for the morning. Imagine that's supposed to be the finisher. I don't want the meal or the starter. Well, Morning Barbados, it's been a pleasure being with you. I'm Wendy Burke. Have a terrific Tuesday.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.